Because I'm tattooed and, gauged and a part of the body modification culture, I think that there are certain preconceived notions that come with that. I think some of it is certainly negative. The tattoos are often classified with people who are, out of prison or things like that. And so there's just this idea that people who have tattoos do or have done bad things. And I hope that that stigma is being lifted, but even still, people look at me and just probably their mind goes crazy wondering where I've been and what I've done. My dad was a heroin user until I was 22 years old and drank a lot. Drank mostly Bacardi and Pepsi for that same amount of time. My mom liked to drink a lot. That was probably her biggest thing. And when she got into drugs, she would do more uppers. So things like speed and drugs like that. My parents separated when I was 8, and then the divorce finalized somewhere during when I was 9 years old. When my parents separated, I moved in with my mom. Initially, my mom was around, and then once my mom did get on her feet, she started to party again and kind of, let loose a little bit. And when I was about 11 and a half or so, I went through this period with my mom where I would only see her at 6:30 in the morning every day, and then on Saturdays and Sundays. But Saturdays and Sundays, I was usually at the bar with them. And so I saw, like at 11 years old, being basically my own parent, because my mom had this desire to get back into, partying and that sort of thing. I moved in with my dad again when I was 12, because of my mom's distant lifestyle at that point. Growing up, my dad was more verbally abusive than anything, and then the older I got, the more physically abusive he was. So it turned from just screaming and yelling and cussing to screaming, yelling, cussing, and punching and pushing and, things like that. High school was a really interesting time for me. I came into high school as like 5'3", little chubby kid who wasn't that cool and really liked to play basketball but wasn't that good. So come my junior year, I really left all of the average Dennis behind and turned into this entirely different person that would be accepted by the cool kids, And that made high school really interesting because I got thrown into a lot of situations that I don't know that I really wanted to be in or was ready for. I went through something fairly tragic my senior year. I got a girl pregnant, and we ended up having an abortion during that time. And so that rocked my world a little bit, but it really wasn't until after I graduated high school that I took that kind of introspective step back and thought, man, I don't really like the person that I am. My journey of faith has been pretty interesting one. It wasn't until after I graduated that I finally was so fed up with how miserable I was, and how self-seeking I was, that one day, I don't know the day, I don't even remember where I was actually, I just remember the feeling, and I remember feeling so disappointed in who I was to people that I sort of looked up towards the heaven and said, man, if you're real, I could really, really use you. If you're who people say you are, let's give this thing a shot. And that was, 11 years ago. My journey has not been an easy one in any stretch of the matter, but I think that's part of the joy at this point, like being tattooed. That's where I draw that philosophy from, is that life is hard ultimately, and there's beauty in the outcome. There's beauty in the healing, and I found a lot of that in knowing and trusting my Creator.